Well, I thought we'd start with where you were born.
He was born in Dallas, Texas.
Right there, where I got my friends. Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas.
Not Mexico, right?
I've been to Mexico one time.
Okay.
Here we are, Dallas, Texas.
All right, so you were born in Dallas at what hospital?
Parkway.
Really?
Oh, my brother used
How
to
did
work
I
there.
not know that?
Did he?
Yep.
So you were born at Parkland. You remember what time?
Good God, you know.
You wouldn't have remembered. Your
No,
mama
I don't-
never told you what time?
No.
Did your daddy come up and get you?
Mm-mm.
Did he like bring the wagon and the horse and everything? No, 1933. What'd he come pick y'all up in? Probably a old pickup or a... How'd he get up there to get his wife and
Out of
first
the hospital.
boy
A
out of the
gravel
hospital?
truck.
A gravel truck?
Yeah.
Are you making that up?
No, Daddy was driving a gravel truck then.
And he came and picked up Grandma and you. So I'm guessing there wasn't a car seat. They didn't have car seats back then. So you hopped up in the gravel truck with Grandma and went home.
Yeah,
And you lived on Bear Creek
yeah.
till you were how old?
Wasn't very old. I was just born.
No, I mean, how long did you live on Bear Creek?
Oh, well, that time we went and were living with Grandma Harrington. Yeah, I've been trying to find out if they were still alive, but I don't know.
I told you they're not.
Oh, Grandma and Grandpa Harrington? No way.
They're not. None of the Harringtons are still alive except.
They'd be like 120 years old.
Well, yeah, no, they're not. No.
Okay, so you were on Bear Creek, living with Grandma Harrington, and then
He basically lived on Bear Creek until he went in the military.
just in different places.
Right. Didn't you?
Well, that place that we used to go home to Grandpa's house, in the big tree house, remember, was that on Bear Creek?
Yep. That
I
was
didn't
very
know
good.
that.
Yep.
It's just little.
Because he
Okay.
basically didn't, I mean,
And they had that big concrete porch, and
Yeah.
I know y'all had,
That
you
was
probably,
dancing.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
know you probably you moved some for your daddy to work, but you weren't ever gone very long, were you? Didn't you always come back to Bear Creek?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I didn't know Grandpa drove a gravel truck. I just always knew he was a
Carpenter.
carpenter.
No, he drove a gravel truck. Him and his brother, Uncle Verby. They both drove gravel trucks back in them days. And then I don't know when they got out of the gravel business and went into just Uncle Verby. He moved into a place where he farmed and raised tomatoes. Gosh, mother gobs.
Well, and you tell the watermelon story too. So who had the big farm? It was Uncle Verby
Yeah.
that you picked all of the melons and stuff there on his farm.
Yeah.
How old were you there
Oh,
when
God.
you started
It
working?
was 8 when he picked tomatoes,
Yeah, maybe.
because they'd pick him up in the mornings, and
Yeah,
or
Daddy
his
would
dad
take
would
me.
drop him off.
Yeah, Daddy'd take me to work and drop me off at Uncle Verby's.
8 years old, and you worked till dinner time?
Oh, yeah.
That's
It'd take
pretty
till
rough.
about-
If you think about an 8-year-old going to work in the morning, and
Worked all day.
that's pretty cool.
Some days he had to walk home.
Yeah. Sure did.
That's pretty cool.
Mhm.
So, Aunt Dorothy was how much younger than you?
3.
3 years younger?
Yeah.
So what was she doing while you were out working on the farm?
She
Helping
wasn't
Grandma?
doing nothing.
Oh, surely she was helping Grandma do something.
Well, she had only been 5. Can't do a whole lot.
If you got an 8-year-old working all day on the farm, the 5-year-old ought to at least be taking in laundry. I don't know. So you stayed at Bear Creek until you went into the service.
Yeah.
So when you enlisted, How old were you? 16?
21.
Were you that old? Or 18?
Might have been 18.
He got drafted, so whatever age they were drafting at, and my guess would be 18.
Yeah, probably
18. I got
And
it.
instead of going to the Army, you
We
signed
went
up for the Air Force.
First,
Yeah.
before they drafted. He knew he was gonna be drafted, so
Yeah.
he went in the Air Force.
Yeah, I had the draft card already.
So way back then, me being a girl, I don't remember how it happened. So you'd get a draft card. You had already reported for your physical, so you knew you were whatever classification and you weren't going to get dismissed, and you didn't have a family reason why you were going to go, so you might as well choose.
You're going in the service, son.
You pick which one you want. So where'd you do that training at?
What?
Your first Air Force school.
San
Basic
San
training.
Antonio.
San
It's like the
Antonio.
whole world
San
still does
Antonio.
now.
Whole world's down there now training.
Yeah.
Nice.
What time of year did you go in?
August.
Ooh, August in San Antonio basic training sounds pretty miserable to me.
Yeah, well,
In full uniform and marching and all that. Yeah. It was
And how
hard.
long
that'd
was
be hard.
basic training back then? Isn't it a lot shorter these days?
I don't
Or was
know.
it shorter back then?
No, it was longer back then, but I don't know. It's about 13 weeks now, I think.
I don't know what it was. I don't remember.
Were you always an aircraft mechanic? That was what you chose to do? And
Well, I went to A&E school. They sent me to A&E school, which was in a bunch of hangars where they taught like alternators, engines, different stuff. But it was on some of the aircrafts that we were going to work on. So anyway,
And so that was after San Antonio. Where'd you do that training at? Was that up at Wichita Falls or where?
Wichita Falls is where we did a bunch of the training above.
What'd you go to Travis for?
That's where they sent me.
I know it, but was that for training?
No,
Oh, okay. That was an assignment.
yeah, they
Yeah.
put me on the flight line. Yeah,
So from Sheppard you went where? Where'd you meet Dean and all those other folks?
Wichita Falls. Where we was going
Oh.
to school. We were all going to school.
So y'all, Black and Dean and you were all going to the same type school? The same
Well,
time?
Let's see. Dean went to 4360 engine school. Dean. Black did the same thing. He went to prop school.
With you?
Yeah,
Okay. So Black was with you at prop school.
yeah, till I finished the school, and then I went to. Then my assignment was to Travis.
So
And that's when you got married.
in Travis? Well, on the way to Travis.
Before Travis.
Before
Just
Travis.
yeah, they went to Travis as soon as they got married.
So you were like brand new then when you met Mama in the military.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just not sure she knew what she was signed up for. I have some years. So basic training in Lackland in 52.
Yeah.
Oh, now this says aircraft maintenance course in Chanute in Rantoul, Illinois.
Yeah, I went there.
And then you went to Sheppard. So you probably met Dean up in Illinois and Black too.
Well, yeah, we were all going to the same school.
Did you all go down to Sheppard too? Is that
Yeah.
the normal progression?
Were you in basic with Dean
Yeah,
and Black?
yeah.
So you actually met him in San Antonio when you started.
I did
this
not
whole
know
thing.
that.
Yeah.
Huh.
I met Black in San Antonio, but then when we got down,
So Black was first.
yeah,
Then came Dean. Probably up in Illinois. Maybe.
yeah.
And then you went to Travis, which is in Fairfield, California.
Good.
So somewhere between getting all of your school, you got enlisted, trained, picked up a wife, and you went to California.
Yeah.
And you were there for 4 years? Because till 57, and then Robert was born in 56. You went home to Bear Creek in 57, and you tried Consolidated, which was the OGE. I mean, General Dynamics, GD.
Yeah.
After he got it, after he did his first enlistment, he came home, got out.
Came home with the baby, got out, tried General Dynamics. But how long did you stay out before you decided, hey, I'm going back in?
Not a year.
No. I stayed there. Let's see, what did I do when I got out?
He went to work for the man that, with the truck, the dump truck or something.
Yeah,
And he just had one job, was all he had for you.
yeah,
And you said, I can't do that.
yeah, that's right.
So you went back in.
I went back in.
So it was way less than a year.
Oh, yeah.
Coolio.
You listen.
All right. Well, that's a good start. And then next week we can pick up after your first son. How about that? Okay, so you were at Travis. You had Aunt Dorothy with you and Mama. Robert was born March 10th, 1956. So 57, Eisenhower's president. You went back in probably because of the regular layoffs that GD went through. So you went back in, and that would have been the time you went to Tennessee, because Jimmy was born in Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
We're out Air Force Base in Tennessee.
It was in Smyrna, wherever Smyrna was.
That was a little town.
What was it near, Dad? Was it near Nashville or one of the bigger?
It was close to Nashville.
It was close to Nashville.
There's Nashville.
So you went to Smyrna.
Just not very far from
Nashville. Because they went into Nashville to shop.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's in Arkansas.
But Aunt Dorothy wasn't with you when Jimmy came along.
No.
All right, and so Jimmy was born 1958. Where'd you go from there? When did you start doing your exotic travels to like India and the Arctic Circle and all of those places? Because that was before me.
Yeah.
That was, some of it was out of Tennessee.
Yeah.
He'd go TDY,
Yeah.
and India was TDY, and so was the Arctic Circle. Greenland.
I remember you telling the story about seeing the Taj Mahal.
He was also in Delhi. He
There you go.
visited, well, I don't know if they went into Delhi or what, but
Do you remember, Dad?
Yeah.
Did you?
I remember Delhi.
So that was a TDY, and how long would your TDYs be? Were they like 90 days or
Some of them were.
shorter?
Some of them were shorter. We had a bunch of them.
So if you went TDY for like 30 days and Mom would have been in Tennessee with 2 little babies,
Yeah.
and I remember the stories where she took you in laundry.
Yeah.
I think that was starting in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Did you go to the Arctic Circle during that time, or does that come later? Way later? Okay. So we're around 1958, 1960. When we leave Tennessee, you usually did 2 or 3 year stints.
you were in Tennessee 5 years, weren't you?
Nope. I was born in Dyess
Oh,
in
okay.
62.
I remember you saying you were in Tennessee 5 years and you never made a strike.
Yeah.
Old stories were when the Democrats get in office, they freeze promotions. And that's when Mom started taking in laundry
Yeah.
to make ends meet. But somewhere between 58 and 62, we moved to Abilene. I remember the house, actually. I remember a lot of snow. I can remember snow fights.
Abilene?
I remember the porch. I don't remember a lot. All right, well, think about that. So, what were you doing in Abilene? What job did you do in Abilene?
Oh, I had two different. I first went out there and worked on the flight line, working on airplanes. And then I got moved to being an instructor. Went into field training. And I trained students, all kinds of them, most of them pilot and flight people. And that was about it.
So, were those long days? I remember when you were in Tennessee, you talked about all the hours on the flight line. You'd work 16, 18 hours a day.
Oh, yeah.
But did it get better in Abilene?
Yeah, it got better.
Must have got a little better if you started having kids again. So,
Yeah.
of course, y'all didn't really plan to have us because the doctors told Mom not to have any more kids, but you did 4 years later because, Robert being RH positive, Mom made antibodies. Jimmy was RH negative. That's why he had to have that transfusion. Then I came along, and I don't know if they had Rogam by then, which is what they would give pregnant women so that they wouldn't react to the fetus blood.
Yeah.
Because I'm O negative as well, and I didn't have to have a transfusion or anything. And then August 28th, 1963, Lisa was born, and she didn't need any kind of transfusion. So that was baby number 4, and y'all called it quits, right?
Yeah.
1963. Kennedy died what month in 63? November, so.
I was in India.
November 22.
So that's when you went to India, when Kennedy died? So not when you were in Tennessee, when you were in Abilene. Now, have you gone to the Arctic Circle yet? By 63?
I don't remember.
I remember the stories of how cold it was, and you had that horrible case of the hiccups for however many days.
They were ready to fly him out, and he stopped.
Yeah. Surely.
You probably didn't want to get cold again, so you stopped so they wouldn't put you out there on that cold plane.
Yeah, you're right.
So from Abilene, we went to Japan. Did that happen yet? Because I know Lisa was a little thing, and I wasn't much older.
Lisa was a baby.
Yeah, she was like less than a year old. Yeah. I remember going, and I would have been very young, like 2.5, maybe 3. I remember we landed, and we were pulling all of our luggage, and all of us kids going down this long terminal. It was the military base, though, wasn't it? It wasn't a commercial airport.
No.
Robert would know a lot about that, because if I was 3, he would have been 6 years older. He would have been 9. He would have been big boy.
Yeah.
So we went to Japan in 64 or 65. 65 maybe?
I guess, sugar.
So when we were in Japan, did you do some TDYs into Tokyo and some other places, or?
No.
No? I remember going to Tokyo once, going to the base.
Yeah.
I was tiny, and I just remember lots and lots of legs. And it was at Christmas time?
Yeah.
What was your favorite tour out of everywhere?
My favorite one, Japan.
How come?
Oh, I don't know. It was really, duty was real simple.
What'd you do over there? Did you teach still?
Yeah, I was teaching.
So, teaching mechanics?
Yeah. Mechanics and flight people.
Did you have to do a lot of flying? Like when you were teaching, did you have to get in so many hours or anything like that?
Yep.
He's always said Japan was his favorite because his family was all together and that y'all got to do so much together. And
Yeah.
We really did.
yeah,
I remember some really pretty parks.
Yeah, the best for the family.
I remember earthquakes. I remember the dining room, that china cabinet, the dishes would start rattling.
Yeah.
That's when I cut my arm real bad. I had one of your beer bottles and you wouldn't let me drink beer, but I got one of the bottles and I went to the bathroom and I stood up on Lisa's little potty chair to fill it up with water.
Yeah.
And I fell back and I hit that linoleum and that beer bottle broke and I cut my left arm. And I remember the trip to the hospital, and it was during a typhoon and they had the doors sandbagged. I don't know who stayed with the kids because it was just me and Mama and Daddy in the car, and Mama holding my wrist. And when they were trying to grab something, I distinctly remember hearing Mama holler, "Get me something that's just white." For some reason, we didn't think that you could wrap my arm in anything that had color.
Yeah, it's got to be white.
And I think I had somebody's briefs wrapped around my arm. That was a big thing because I remember him sewing, and Daddy was mad because I was just screaming. I don't remember hurting, but I was scared.
Scared, yeah.
And I was just screaming, and he didn't want him to hurt me. And then afterwards, I think it had trouble healing, and I had to keep going back in. And I remember when they finally took the stitches out, and I think even back then I liked medicine, and I was watching them pull the stitches out. It didn't hurt either, but he kept saying, "Get your head out of the light so I can see." And I probably would have been 4 at that point.
Yeah.
And I know we lived on base because I remember the base housing was like in a court.
Yeah.
And that one boy that fell and he hit his elbow on that thing that we used to climb on and broke his arm. And then there was a boy that lived across the court from us, and I would go over and we would play.
Yeah.
And then I remember you did something with Jimmy's scout troop.
Yeah.
And you got mad for some reason. I don't know. And then you didn't do that anymore. They did something that you didn't agree with, so y'all just you stopped doing scouts. And Lisa looked like a little Japanese baby, and there was a lady that came to clean the house, and Mom had some clothes made out of silk and everything, and she just loved Lisa.
Oh, really?
Because she had dark hair and big old black eyes.
Yeah.
And then I remember before we left, this is jumping 3 years ahead, and Mom was packing up and she fell down those stairs, landed on her tailbone.
Yeah.
Right before we had to leave.
Yeah.
In that flight home, I just remember lots and lots of baby bottles because Lisa was still very little.
Yeah.
And then when we came back from Japan, is that when we went to Wichita Falls? Because that's when I really start remembering stuff.
That's when you would have gone to school.
Well, I didn't go to kindergarten.
Oh,
I didn't go to first grade until Dad went to Vietnam in '69.
Oh, okay.
We didn't have to do kindergarten back then.
Okay.
I remember when you came home and you told us, and we were in Wichita Falls, because you told all of us kids that you were going to Vietnam.
Oh.
And I was little, and I thought, well, this is nothing different. You know, Dad goes around. It'll be okay, Mama. Yeah. I don't think I realized it was for a year.
Long time.
And then you took us up to, we lived in Anna while you were gone.
Yeah.
So supposedly Mom's family could help out, but really they used Mom to help them.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's a good stopping point. That's like, wow, we covered 10 years, Daddy. There's going to be some details in there we're going to want to think about.